I decided to sell my PS5 rather than sharing it with my stepbrothers, and things took a turn for the worst. My 15M mum and dad met and briefly dated while they were both studying at uni. My mum gave birth to me after they had broken up and had to sue my dad for child support. I was raised by my mum and had virtually nothing to do with my dad throughout my childhood. My mum was an international student and her family cut ties with her due to the circumstances of my birth. Tragically, 2 years ago, I lost my mum to cancer and thus I was placed under the care of my dad. My dad has remarried and has 2 sons, 5 and 7, with his wife. It wasn't a bad arrangement at first, but we were all essentially strangers. I was given a bedroom to myself and we shared some meals but other than kept to myself. About 10 months ago, I was lucky enough to score a casual job at an aged care facility as IT support. It was stupid easy money as it involves installing and maintaining a dozen or so common PCs used by the residents plus running basic computing workshops. I ended up accruing a whole lot of disposable income in a short time. Stupidly, instead of just keeping quiet about it, I decked out my room with a new TV, headphone and a PS5. Obviously, this setup was of great interest to my 2 stepbrothers. Initially, my rule was that they could play the PS5 anytime I wasn't using it, but I would get first dibs if I wanted to play or use my TV. I was also super accommodating by buying an extra controller, which I didn't need, and several kid-friendly games that they wanted to play. I eventually had to change the rule to only play when I was there because the 5 years.0 destroyed one of my controllers through spilling juice on it. This is where the drama started. They whined to my parents who then ordered me to place the PS5 in the living room. I refused, stating that I had purchased it with my own money. This led to their argument that I have too much money and should contribute rent, utilities and food money. I called their bluff and said sure, draw up a contract and I'll get a lawyer to review it to ensure it complies with the Family Law Act. My dad then told the boys that he was going to buy a separate PS5 for the boys for Christmas, but the dude is clueless about the global shortage. Finally last night, after realizing that he had zero chance of buying one for close to RRP, my dad threatened me to either voluntarily gift my PS5 to the boys for Christmas or he would toss it in the bin while I was at school. I was so pissed that I went on Facebook Marketplace and sold the PS5. The boys found out today and were devastated. I feel really bad because they shouldn't be punished for this shit show. My parents are in their room talking about me and I'm sitting here in my room. AITA? How could I have handled this better? Update 1. Wow. This blew up overnight. Firstly, thanks to all the kind strangers out there giving me your positive encouragement and support. It's quite humbling that so many have took time to read my story and chose to provide positive support. Some people were after an update of the situation. I'm at work now, but my stepmom had a chat with me this morning and it was quite positive. She said she didn't know about my existence until right before I came to live with them, and so it caused a huge rift between her and dad. She apologized for projecting that onto me and not being more welcoming. She also didn't know about my dad's threats and told me that it won't happen on her watch. My half-brothers also admitted to her about the juice incident. She said that she is going to get the boys a Switch for Christmas and she offered to pay me the difference between RRP and getting a new PS5. I probs won't take the money, but at least it's a step forward. This was the longest conversation I have ever had with her 2 BTW. No comms from my dad yet, lol. To answer some common questions. 1. My bank account is entirely in my name only, Australia. No one else has ability to view or access the balance. I actually don't think my dad's demand for rent was about money, they both earn a good salary. He's just butthurt that I'm not reliant on his money. 2. Yes, I really am 15, lol. I typed out my post in Word and so that it could be spell and grammar checked, maybe that's what confused people? 3. I get 27 Australian dollars and 50 cents an hour on a casual contract, with additional loading for weekends/PHS. The operations manager at the aged care facility is super chill and allows me to schedule my hours around school. I just have a cap that I can't go over. She lets me do my homework on the clock and I get free meals from cafeteria. If I help the residents on non-facility devices, they usually tip me, in cash or sometimes cookies, lol. I've got a fair bit saved up because I don't really have any expenses. 4. I've got a shoebox of documents from when my mum passed. I think my mum's assets is looked after by a trustee firm which will be turned over to me at 18. The law firm managing the will had previously explained this to me, but I wasn't really paying attention at the time. I've got to still go through everything. 5. I sold PS5 for a tidy profit, even with the cost of the damaged controller. I'm not desperate for one ATM, so I'll just sign up for a waiting list again so I won't need to take up my stepmom's offer. This is probably my last post on this issue. Thanks again for the love, everyone. Update 2. So we've got a gathering with the extended family today. This is the first time I've met any of them due to COVID, and they've all been super lovely to me. My stepmom showed them my original post and they are all getting stuck into Dad. My uncle, Dad's younger brother, has set up a Reddit account for him and he's doubling down as he thinks Redditors will take his side when they read his account of it. I'm not going to link or read his post, but people have been telling me it's quite a bloodbath. Ink spillers here. Here is where it gets fun. The dad did his own "Am I the asshole?" post. Here it is. Am I the asshole for asking my son to share his console with his brothers instead of keeping it in his room? A few days ago, my bio son Jonah, not real name, posted a biased and frankly defamatory post about an incident in my home regarding a PS5. My wife was kind enough to share the post and comments with our entire extended family at our Christmas gathering, so apparently now I'm a huge asshole. My brother suggested that I post here to set records straight and give people both sides of the issue. Firstly, I never actually intended to charge Jonah rent. His job gives him essentially 100% disposable income purely because he lives in our household. He used this money to deck out his room, buy brand shoes, buy the latest iPhone, etc., all for himself. I couldn't care less about how he spends his money, but it does set a poor example for my other two boys. The last straw was when Jonah set a login password for the PS5. I basically told him that if he's not willing to share, then why should I give him a free ride? My son should be grateful. While we shared DNA, I only dated his mom, May, not actual name, for all of 5 months back in uni. I was very clear with May that I didn't want kids, but apparently consent doesn't go both ways. May put me through legal hell and ended up costing me tens of thousands of dollars over the years in child support, setting my own goals back. Instead of letting Jonah end up in a group home, I stepped up and took him in when May got sick. Instead of gratitude, I constantly have to deal with disrespect and attitude. Because of Jonah, my wife thinks I breached her trust, all for something that happened well before I met her. While the boys previously did have access to PS5, he now won't let them play it now that school is finished for the year unless he's home, which he never is. I gave him the ultimate of either sharing the console or no one gets to play it. In response, he pulls the most passive-aggressive move ever and sold it, so now no one plays it. So listen, how am I the asshole here? I've taken in this kid into my home, a kid who BTW will receive a sizable inheritance in a few years thanks to May's estate. I've given him a home, a family, and fund his lifestyle, all at the cost of my own relationship. In return, I haven't asked for a cent, and he won't treat me with respect nor follow my rules, but somehow, I'm the giant asshole who's in the study typing this out instead of enjoying Christmas with my extended family. Instead of attacking me, I'm hoping people will now give their fair opinion of the situation based on seeing both sides of the story. He also provided a heated update in the comments. Okay, clearly this hasn't gone down the direction I thought it would. Clearly some of you have issues with comprehension or just can't be bothered reading my comments fully. I want to be clear. I never threatened to collect rent from Jonah. I don't need his part-time work money or about his inheritance money. I make a very good salary, probably more than the vast majority of people who use Reddit. I simply tried to explain to him that he has all this disposable income because he doesn't have to worry about basic needs. I didn't explain it properly at the time because we were arguing, but my intention wasn't for Jonah to give his PS5 to the kids permanently. I just wanted it kept in the common area until I can buy another one for the kids. Jonah never told me about the controller. If he had, of course I would have replaced it, that's not an issue. I expected him to not be so selfish to his brothers. Keeping it in his room under password protection is so rude. Jonah gets home really late most days, so my kids are in bed by the time he gets back. I won't debate the nuances about sex and custody. I'm not an idiot. I understand perfect consent and parental responsibilities. I will just say that there is a large gap between consenting to sex versus consenting to having a child. I get that our current laws are against me on this one. I didn't intend to lie to my wife. Jonah and May were something way into the distant past for me. Our settlement agreement was very clear on that. I had absolutely zero communication with May or Jonah for at least the 10 years prior to finding about her illness. My child support was at a fixed rate, so I had actually paid her out a lump sum that was supposed to take care of him until 18. It wasn't like it was getting taken out of pay every week. As far as I knew, I was never supposed to hear from Jonah or May ever again. Why would I tell my wife about something like that? Now, the dad made another post stating, "Am I the asshole for intercepting and eating my son's food delivery while he was grounded? My eldest son, 16, is undergoing a hormonal-fueled rebellious phase. His behavior consists of things like rolling his eyes when I talk, back-chatting when I tell him to do something, overemphasizing putting on his headphones when I enter the room, and a whole laundry list of other passive-aggressive behaviors. It was his birthday yesterday and he was going to go out with his friends this weekend to celebrate by paintballing. However, when I got home from work yesterday, I noticed that he had failed to do some chores I had set him, and then did the whole headphones routine when I started telling him off for it. I got so sick of his attitude that I threatened to ground him for 2 weeks, which means not letting him leave the house except for work. My words clearly cut through his headphones, and it dawned on him that he would not be allowed to go paintballing this weekend. So he took off his headphones and said, "Go fuck yourself," and then shut himself in his room. This naturally led to his actual grounding. The grounding didn't seem to faze him, as he spends a lot of time in his room anyway. I cut off his devices from our home Wi-Fi, but he works around this by having own hotspot. He refused to come out for dinner last night when my wife asked him to, and has basically barricaded himself in his room. At 10 p.m. last night, he ordered himself a meal via a delivery app. Again, he has clearly been passive-aggressive here, flaunting his independence as he has a perfected lovely meal in the fridge made by my wife. I was still up watching TV, so intercepted the delivery and ate the meal myself. At some point my son must have come out and seen me, but retreated back to his room without saying anything. My wife thinks I am a major off for eating the meal, but I think it comes part and parcel with the grounding. My wife also thinks I'm too harsh due to the grounding. I'll let him go to paintball if he apologizes. So am I the asshole here, Reddit? This post, in turn, fueled an update from the Sun. Hi everyone. Sorry for hijacking the top comment. This is my dad's post. Thanks for everyone's support. I don't think I need to add any more fuel to the fire here. The post and the comments largely speak for themselves. I just wanted to give a quick update to everyone that I'm 100% fine and okay. My stepmom vetoed my punishment, so I'm all good to go out with my friends this weekend. One of my new uncles has asked me to stay with them for a while, which is also super cool. So I'm doing well and loving life. These comments are hilarious. Much love. Edit, new update from the father. I'm sure many of you would be ecstatic to know that my marriage may be over. I came home this evening to find that my wife and my 2 younger boys have left, probably at her mother's house. My oldest is still staying at my brother's house since beginning of Jan. This has hit me hard. As Redditors now remind me on a daily basis, I now know I have been a shitty husband and father. I have some self-reflection to do. I am stubborn, but my wife has always been there to talk me down. I guess she has had enough. The only communication I have is a text from my wife saying she wants a divorce and that her lawyers will get in touch regarding separation arrangements. I have tried calling, but it keeps going to voicemail, same as my in-laws. I want to apologize. I want to offer to go to counseling or therapy like she asked. If I still can't get through to her via phone, I am thinking of going to my in-laws' house. I have to try to at least talk to her. I guess my Redditors hate me, but I welcome any suggestions on if there is anything I can try. More updates from the dad. Hi all, I need some advice about how to win back my wife, and I am genuinely willing to do anything. My wife, F29, and I, M34, of 8 years had been having serious relationship issues over the last few years. The main area of friction between us is that I have a son, M, 16, from a previous teenage fling that I never told her about. We also have another 2 young children together. My 16 years old had to come live with us about 3 years ago because his biological mother died. His presence in our lives caused a lot tension between my wife and I because she felt I majorly breached her trust. We argued more and more about minor things until last Thursday I came home to an empty house. I am devastated. My wife is the love of my life and has always been the main support center in my life. I tried calling her, but she kept sending me to mail. She sent me a text saying that she wasn't ready to talk, but was filing for a divorce and to wait to hear from her lawyers regarding separation mediation. I am a wreck. I would do anything to have her back, including counseling and therapy. She had previously asked me to attend, but I was too arrogant to take it up. I felt that if I could just talk to her, I can have a chance to explain and we can get through this. The next day I did something stupid. I went to her workplace, accounting firm, with her favorite takeaway lunch to try to talk to her. She must have worded up the reception staff because they adamantly refused to buzz me into the office. Her staff even went as far as calling for building security. Not wishing to cause further drama, I left voluntarily. That night, I doubled down on my stupidity. I tried to visit her at her parents' house with a bunch of gifts for her and the kids. My mill answered through intercom but wouldn't let me in. I was so frustrated and emotional that I broke down at their door, basically making a scene and refusing to leave. Later my brother turned up. I assume my wife called. He tried to convince me to go home, but we ended up in a shouting match. He eventually tried to manhandle me back to my car, so I got into a physical altercation with him, but I left when my father-in-law came out and threatened to call the police on me. Things have really gone downhill since then. This morning, 2 police constables turned up to where I work with a provisional domestic violence order along with a summons to attend court for a permanent order. I was in shock and as a result was inadvertently quite rude to the constables. This put them offside. I am a contractor working at a client site, and so when my client asked the constables what the matter was about, they said they couldn't say for privacy reasons, but then immediately handed out business cards with their family violence liaison unit title embossed at the top. So now my firm's senior partner has waved me off going back to the client site and I may be fired. I feel like this is the wake-up call I needed. I know I have been a narcissistic a-hole and am ready to change. What can I do to talk to her? To show her I am determined to be better? I don't want to just end it like this. I know that if I have a chance to explain myself, to apologize, to promise to work really hard on my marriage, to work on my narcissism, to go to therapy, to go to counseling, whatever my wife needs to forgive me and we can get on with our lives. Our court hearing is in a few weeks, so I am thinking of turning up early with some expensive jewelry and try to talk to my wife before the hearing. My solicitor has told me this is a bad idea, but I feel like I need to do something. I don't want to negotiate with my wife across a courtroom. I just want to remind her how much I love her and how much she means to me. What can I do to win my wife back? Has anyone else being in this situation? Update. I get it, it's over. You guys are right. I fucked up. Irrevocably this time. I've lost my family and likely will lose my job. I've always tried to control everything in my life. It's worked for me in the past because my family is wealthy and they fixed things for me. But my wife and brother must have spoken to my parents because they said I can't use the law firm my family has on retainer for my DVO or upcoming separation proceedings anymore. I'll hire my own solicitor as soon as stuff starts opening.